Alright guys, so let's go ahead and do the boots, the basic shape of the boots for our character. And the type of boots that I'm going to be creating is going to be the Timberland boots. I have different types of views here. I have the bottom view, I have the top view. It's always good to have all views so you could be as accurate as possible. You guys can go to google.com and search for your own boots that you want to do. You don't have to do exactly like mine, as I mentioned before. If you want, which is what I suggest anyways, is to just watch my video and try to ingest what you've learned and try to implement what you have learned to creating your own asset. That way, you're not just copying me, but you're actually implementing, and then you're taking what you've learned to create your own and your own character, your own asset. So that means you're actually problem solving and learning. So that's what I suggest you guys do when you guys watch tutorials. Alright, now what we could do is we could go and select our feet area. We could mask out our feet area and we're going to extract out a mesh from there. Okay, we could go ahead and go Shift H, go to scope mode. Alright, and then we could go to our masking. I'm going to go to my lasso mask, go to front view, and I'm just going to mask out this area right here. Mask this out. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to mask, extract, turn off mask as solid and press OK. And I'm gonna go to scope mode, I'm gonna go to mesh filter. I want to inflate, I'm gonna inflate that, crank that up slightly like this. I want it enough so that the toes are sticking together. And then we could go ahead and remesh this. I'm going to go to my remesh here. I'm going to crank up the voxel size so we're working with a low poly as we start out. 0.06, and I'm going to go and remesh that. There you go. It's just going to be a lot easier to smooth. And I'm going to go to my smoothing and then just bring down my smoothing. Smooth it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this. I'm going to go to my material, and I think I have a gray material right there. There you go. I'm going to Shift H. Alright, I'm going to go scope mode. Smooth that out. Control R. Smooth it. So I'm just getting rid of all the shapes that make out the anatomy for the feet. And also, I'm going to go to my inflate. You can see that there's an arc there, and we could go ahead and do this. Kind of flatten the area out. Crank up my inflate. Smooth this out. Smooth this. Make this bulky from the back view. Bulk this up. I go to my grab brush, and from this view here, I'm gonna round this out slightly like this. I'm gonna go to my inflate brush, inflate this area out. And from this view, I go to my grab brush and just pull this out. So from the top view of the boots, we have this type of shape going. Okay. And it's a little flat around this area. Smooth that out. And looking from this view, I'm going to grab brush and kind of move this down and pull this up. this. Get like a basic shape going. Smooth it. And same for here. We got this kind of sticking out for the Timberland boots. Gotta pull that out. And for this here, I do want to flatten the area out at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and go to my remesher. I'm going to bring down my voxel size to 0.05. And then I'm going to go ahead and remesh that. Alright. And you can go ahead and go to my box mask. And I'm going to mask out just the bottom part here. Gonna go to mask and mask slice and fill holes. So now we have something flat going on. Alt M to unmask that and Control R to remesh. Alright, cool. Gonna go to my inflate. There's some areas here that gonna need to be a little bit more thicker on this area. So this area and smooth it. Move that area out. So just thinking of the basic shape here as we move along. And if you look over here, you can see there are parts of it that's not touching the floor for the boots. So this area is not touching the floor. And also this area is not touching the floor. So we're gonna be creating this part of the boots, right? And then also this part right here of the boots. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and start to, maybe gonna go to my grab brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and gonna lift this up like that. I'm gonna crank up my strength all the way up and then kind of lift it up like this. Yeah, and then this one could be kind of high up like this. Lift it up slowly like this. And gonna move this back like that. Okay, so we got something going on. And for this one, same thing, gonna lift this up like this. You're looking from the front view. Gonna move this out like this. Gonna go to my inflate brush and inflate this. Alright. And looking from the bottom view, let's not forget to also show love at the bottom. Gonna go to scope mode. Alright, here I want to kind of make this longer like that. So really for the shoe, we still have a shape that looks like the feet a little bit. So we have the shape going, right? Still looks like the shape of the feet at the bottom. And also at the top, of course. And I think for my Timberland boots here, I didn't make them that high. So maybe I could make it higher. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my masking here. And I'm going to go ahead and mask this area out. Control I to invert it. And I'm going to go ahead and just smooth this with the paint mask. And I'm going to go to move. Set pivot to mask border. And I'm going to go ahead and slightly lift it up. Like that. Alt M. And I'm going to go ahead and inflate this. Inflate that. Inflate this. Smooth it. And remesh it. Smooth that. Okay, looking at this view. Go. And also here, there's some areas that look like it's being pushed in because it still has a little bit that ankle showing. So make sure that you look at every part of your shoe and just kind of add some more volume around the areas where it looks like the anatomy is still showing, and smooth it as usual. Smooth it. So I'm gonna go to my scrape brush and just kind of flatten this area, just make the edge sharper. So really take your time doing the basic shape. Just like with any part of your character, the number one thing that you really should be working on is going to be the basic forms. You're going to spend the most of your time just doing the basic shape, okay? Very, very, very important. And while we're here, I think we could go ahead and, so looking from the top view, and maybe I'm gonna go to my scrape brush and then scrape this up slightly, protruding out too much. And then maybe I could go to my grab brush and just make this wider. Make this part wider. There you go. Good. Better. It looks more like boots. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to masking. Gonna mask out the area here where we're going to be having our I forgot the name of the bottom part of this. Hold on, let's take a look at what do you call the bottom part. Alright, so if we look at the anatomy of the shoe, so the boot's anatomy. So we have this, the midsole, this is the arc part, heel, base. Probably won't remember all these, so I'm gonna call this one maybe the midsole or outsole. But yeah, so let's go ahead and create, we're gonna be creating the midsole, outsole, bottom part. Maybe I just call it the bottom part. I'll just call it the bottom part. But if you want to be accurate, you could also just take a look at the anatomy of the shoe. Just want to focus on the human anatomy. I have too many names to remember for the human anatomy. I rather remember the names of the human anatomy than the anatomy of the shoe. So I'll just call this the bottom part of the shoe. Alright, Control I to invert it. And I'm going to hold Control and unmask this area. Mask this part. We're going to protrude out a certain area here of the shoe for the sole or bottom part of the shoe. Okay, then you go to Move tool and set pivot to mask border. Yeah, we can go ahead and just move it down like this. So we got something to work with for the bottom part. Yep, something like this. Really, it's up to you how thick you want it to be. Okay, something like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to my remesh. I'm gonna set this to even a lower value. You can see as I add more and more forms here, I'm also bringing down the voxel size. I have more resolution to work with. I'm gonna remesh that. All right, and so right now I'm really just thinking of the basic form. I'm gonna go to sculpt mode. Okay, I'm gonna go to my lasso mask and look in this here. We could mask out an area here and remove it later, but I think we'll do that later. Right now, we could kind of think about maybe draw a little shape of where our laces are going to be. Just kind of indicate it that way. If we indicate here the laces and more the details of the shoe, we could further see what else we need to do as far as the basic forms go. Bulk this up slightly. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go to my draw sharp. I'm not gonna carve in really deep, just very, very subtle, just so that I know that the shape's gonna be there. And then later we're gonna be adding an actual detail of the lace. We could make the lace a separate piece. But yeah, so we have, I know we're gonna have this shape going, right? This is where the lace is gonna be in. And I'm gonna go in this view. So maybe from here we got this like design going this way, and then a design that gonna go this way. Same here, we got a design gonna go this way, and then gonna go that way, right? And then we could think about where the shoelace is gonna be. There's gonna be some holes here. So this is not really set in stone, just so that it's just something so that we got something that we could use as a visualization. All right, so something real quick, and then we could show the rest of our character here. See what's going on. Oh boy, and you look at that, the foot is sticking out, right? So I'm gonna go to my sculpt mode. I'm gonna go to my grab brush. Things like this is bound to happen, so I'm gonna move it this way. That. All right, good. And then gonna fix this up slightly. There you go. We're gonna have to do something about the pants there, so it doesn't look like it's sinking in the boot area. And looking from the side, let's look from the side here. Okay, so I think I kind of lift this up slightly, like that. Cool. Looking from this view. I think looking at this, I feel like the shoe, the feet is sticking out outward too much. So I think I'm going to make it a little bit more inwards. It's good to have it slightly outwards, but I think I made it exaggerate a little too much. I'm gonna hide the pants. I'm gonna go and select his leg and his shoe here. Shift H, okay. And selecting this and this, Control J. So I combine the body with the shoe. I'm gonna go to sculpt mode. I'm gonna go ahead and Alt M to unmask, and then I'm gonna lasso mask just this area right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and smooth this with this. And I'm gonna go ahead and smooth this out. Control I to invert it. Okay, I don't want any part of the calves move. I'm gonna kind of rotate this a little bit inwards. I'm gonna go to my rotate tool, and I'm gonna go to set pivot to mask border. So we have the rotate tool there, and I'm actually gonna be rotating the blue ring. So it's gonna be slightly inwards, not too outwards. It's still gonna be outwards, but not as much as I had previously. So very subtle. Alt M. Okay, and let me see how it looks like. Okay, so I think that's better. And I'm gonna go ahead and do something about those pants. I'm gonna go to my sculpt mode, and I'm gonna go to my grab brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out. Pull this out. So pull this out like this, and same here. This needs to be pulled out, and also here. Then I'm gonna go to my scrape brush and just scrape this because it looks a little too bubbly around this area. Scrape that. So we still want to have that hard edge going around the pants area at the bottom. Okay. Yeah, you don't want it to look bubbly, otherwise it will definitely look strange. And looking from this view, okay, looking from the top, see how it looks like. I think I made it a little too curvy, so I'm gonna go to scope mode. Exaggerated too much. Here you go. If you're doing a stylized character, it's okay to exaggerate a bit, but I'm not doing a stylized, so I want to keep it as realistic as possible. Okay, and I'm gonna go to my draw sharp and just gonna indicate more of the shape here. And like this, and then here, and then goes up like so. I think the shoe, let's see from this view here. Okay. I think what I want to do is I want to kind of lift this area up like that. Plus later on we're gonna have something that looks like a hill, and then there's gonna be a depth there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and mask this area out like this. And I think around this area also, can mask this area out. So this part that I want to kind of lift up, just gonna mask that out. Control I to invert it. And I'm gonna go to my grab brush. And I'm gonna go to my move tool. Actually, before I'm going to move tool, I'm gonna go ahead and smooth it out. Hold control. So when we smooth it, we're letting Blender know, remember, where we want the mask border to be when we smooth it. Smooth this, hold control, and unmask this area. I'm gonna go to my move tool, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to set pivot to mask border. Alright, and I'm gonna go ahead and move it up. Okay, and I'm gonna go to rotate tool and just kind of rotate it slightly. Like that. Then I'm gonna go to move and just slightly move it up again like this. Okay. And maybe a little bit too much. Exaggerated too much. Maybe something like that. Alright, so now I'm gonna go have smooth this area out. Don't want this to show. I'm gonna go to my clay strip brush, add a little clay there. Bring down the brush size. Go to scrape brush and smooth it. Smooth this. Alright, so that actually makes more sense. And then later on when we make a cut here, make a little extrusion here inwards, it's gonna look a lot better. I'm gonna go to my scrape brush and just kind of flatten this area out. And it also kind of smooths it when we do this with a scrape brush. And I want to see just kind of how it looks like when I go ahead and do a little render test here. Alright, so we got a nice boots going. I think I made the feet might be a little too big for my taste. So I'm gonna go to my sculpt mode, my grab brush, and maybe I'm gonna go ahead and pull this closer like that. Actually, instead of doing that, I'm gonna go to my masking instead. Like if I have a pretty good shape already, I don't wanna have to use my grab brush because it just makes it look warped. So prefer to use the move tool, a move brush, if I have a good shape going already and I don't want to warp things. Control I to invert it. Hold Control and unmask this area. And I'm gonna go to my move tool, set pivot to mask border. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make this shorter. No, I don't want it too much where it's gonna start showing his toes. Let's see how it looks like if I render this out. Right. Let me see from this view, if I render it from this view. Okay, that's better. He no longer has dwarf feet. Dwarfs have big feet and small body. And I don't want him to look like that. So something like that. Okay, Alt M to unmask. Alright, so got a good shape going. And later on we're gonna be further working on the boots. See you guys.